Welcome to Understand the Math. In this question, we're asked to find the value of h. So there's an h, and let's look down here. There's our h and our b. So for what value of h is b in the span of a1 and a2? So in other words, all we're having to do is we're going to pick a number for h so that our vector b is in the span of a1 and a2. Let's talk a little bit of theory before we go ahead and solve this. The span of a1 and a2 is just all the linear combinations of a1 and a2, and we can write that as c1a1 plus c2 times a2. Our vector b then is in the span of a1 and a2 if b can be written as a linear combination of a1 and a2. In other words, if b is equal to c1a1 plus c2a2. What we're going to have to do to solve this problem is we're going to take a1, a2 and augment it with b. That comes from this equation right here. And we're going to put that equation in echelon form, and we're going to see if a solution exists. Let's take a matrix, and we're going to put a1 in our first column, and then a2 in our second column, and then we're going to augment that on the right with our vector b, 4 minus 4h. Now what we have to do is put this matrix in echelon form. So let's circle our pivot, and then I'm going to highlight in yellow the entries that have to go to 0. And let's write down the row operations that we're going to have to use. We're going to take row 2, and we're going to replace it with row 2 minus 2 times row 1. And then we're going to take row 3, and we're going to replace it with row 3 plus row 1. Let's do this. Our first row is going to stay the same, so we can just copy that down. Now let's change our second row. We're going to take minus 2 times our first row and add it to our second row. So we get a 0. We get a 14 minus 10, which gives us a 4. And then we get a minus 8 minus 4 gives us a minus 12. Our bottom row, we're just going to take row 1 and add it to row 3. So we get a 0. We pick up a minus 4, and then we get an h plus 4. Let's go ahead and let's circle our next pivot. And then the negative 4 below that pivot is going to have to go to 0. So the row operation that we're going to use to do this is we're going to take row 3, and we're going to place it with row 3 plus row 2. I think I'm going to go down here so we have a little bit more space. Here's what we're going to get. Our first two rows are going to stay the same. And we add our second row to our third row, so we pick up a 0, and then we have an h plus 4 minus 12. Let's go back up here to some of our theory. What we wanted to do is, in order for b to be in the span of a1 and a2, we had to see if this matrix that we just constructed has a solution. So let's come down here and let's look at our last row. Notice for a solution to exist, we're going to have to force this, which is h minus 8, to be equal to 0, because we can't have 0 equal to a non-zero number. So this is going to give us a solution that h is going to have to equal 8. So when h is equal to 8, let's go back up here. Let's go ahead and mark this as 8. When h is equal to 8, b is in the span of a1 and a2.
If this video has been helpful to you, please consider subscribing to my channel. Keep believing in yourself and have a great rest of your day.